Hello and welcome to the Relentless Investor Podcast. This is Caleb Bryant, your host, and today I have on the show Evan McCuen. Evan McCuen is the principal at RHED Key Properties, and he's done something that a lot of people really want to do, and that is he was able to quit a W-2 job by investing in real estate. So with that being said, Evan, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being on.
Hey, thanks for allowing me to come on and kind of talk about my investing career, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, Evan, how did you start in real estate? What were the first steps that you took, and why did you think you wanted to be a real estate investor?
So it all started when I hit about 25 years old, and I had reached a plateau in my job, and I was a skilled technician. And I just wanted something more. I wanted something more in my life. So started going back to school, the traditional route, and realized quickly that that's not kind of what I wanted to do with the rest of my life and kind of build that career. So I had a passion to create something. And when I learned that you can be an investor and you can buy and sell property, you can flip property. There's a lot of different things that you can do to invest with property. That's kind of the path that I wanted to take, and just create that freedom of life choice.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was your job? What were you doing? And what did you have to leave when you got into this business?
So I was a master technician for Honda and then Acura. And I went to Nashville Auto Diesel School prior to that. And so I'd spent a good deal of money in education and in training. And when I started at the Honda dealership, I started out changing oil. And so I had to work my way up from that. And so changing oil, then became a journeyman technician. I shadowed with another master technician, and then I just kind of worked my way up. So that's kind of what I did before, real estate investing and having that mindset of repairing cars. I mean, you look at a house, and I'm like, well, a house is a system of systems, just like a car is a system of systems. And then when you take and look at businesses are systems of systems. And so I thought that if I already had that mindset, and I always thought that I could fix anything. Well, if I can fix anything, I can fix a house, I can fix a business, I can create a business. And so it's really like mindset as well.
Awesome. So it's scary. It's scary to quit a job. So why did you do it? What made you jump?
Well, I'd been thinking about it for months. And like I said, I'd reached that plateau there. And we had already started the business, and it was a family business, still is a family business. So I was working with my wife and my mother-in-law and a good friend of ours as well. And really what pushed us to quit, or, me even having that inkling, is, we had done a couple flips, and we hadn't actually like completed them. So they were on the market. One was being completed with the contractor, and one was being on the market. And my wife became pregnant with Aurora. And so I and her always had that decision that when we had a child, we wanted to be there for our child. And that's why we quit our job. I mean, that's the main reason why. If I had never had conceived Aurora, I would probably still be working that job. And we just wanted that lifestyle to create. We just wanted to create a lifestyle that was a welcoming environment for our child, and be there for the special moments that a child needs to, they need their parents. We didn't want to work, 60 hours a week, 50 hours a week, and then only spend 2 or 3 hours a day with our child in the early years. That it just didn't make sense to us. That didn't align with our core values.
Absolutely. And a lot of parents out there, I'm sure, relate to that. They want to be home with their children more. For me, I don't have any children yet, and I want to be away from my dog as much as possible. No, I'm playing. But I can feel that is a huge why, and that's a lot of people's why. And so a lot of people can relate to that. So you quit your job and you begin having some success in business. So let's dig into the strategies you use a little bit.
Okay.
So you're primarily in the single family business. What
Yes.
all are you doing in that business, and what value can you bring to our listeners here?
So I'm in a couple different spaces in the single family. Like I said, we initially started doing fix and flips, and for any of y'all that know that model, you buy a property at a discount. It's either typically a distressed property or a distressed situation with the individual, and you repair the property, and you use contractors, and you create value for contractors as well. And then you have a team of agents that you put the property on the market, and you sell it, and you want to sell it pretty quickly to get your return on investment. You may be using private money as well, so you're creating value to them as well. But that's one of the strategies that we currently use. That's one that we started with. Another one is wholesaling. And so for a lot of individuals, they want to get started and they're like, well, I want to get started doing wholesaling and it's quick cash. Well, it is quick cash, but you have to understand and realize what type of market you're in. You have to understand what type of repairs these property needs. You have to understand what type of, what's a good deal for you and what's a good deal for the other investor. Because you want to make sure there's some back end money on the other side for that other investor, because why would they buy it? And so what I've been doing recently has, so that's two strategies. And so a couple more are a little bit more creative. So kind of learned from a friend of ours and, kind of learned some creative financing as far as owner financing. And then we started doing some of that model and we were able to help other individuals, buyers, sellers, and lenders. And so it just opened up another avenue. And so recently, the past month, I've been focusing all my energy into creating the same type of strategy, and it's a lease option. And so we can get into these properties a little bit quicker. It's an easier strategy to acquire a property without having to go through like other strategies to acquire, like subject to and contract for deed or something like that. So it puts the seller in a better position.
Absolutely. So what have you seen as the advantage to a lease option? What are some key points that led you to use this strategy or utilize this strategy versus some of the other ones you've been using? Because you've used a lot of different strategies. You're very
Yes.
Creative in how you get deals done. So what's so great about the lease option?
What I like about the lease option is, you're not going after the deed. So in subject to, you're going after the deed. You keep the financing in place with the seller, and then you transfer the deed. And so a lot of times, if you disclose everything that you should in a subject to, a lot of times that could be very scary to a seller, because they're like, oh wait, I still hold the mortgage, but you want the deed. And oh wait, you're talking about this acceleration clause.
Wait. So I have to trust you to make my payments?
Oh yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fully full trust.
Yeah.
And so and that credibility starts from day one. Just so you know, that credibility starts from day one. From the initial time you pick up the phone call, you want to build that credibility and rapport. But so that's what led me to lease purchase strategies, and I've had some mentorship in that and some coaching as well from another experienced investor, and he's utilized that strategy. And it is a long-term strategy, but it does end. So it's not like a typical buy and hold when you go get traditional financing and you hold this property for forever,
Mm-hmm.
and you can sell whenever. This strategy, it has a couple different payment methods and payment centers, which I like. So you can utilize 3 if you sandwich it. And but it does end, and it will end. And that's what the end goal is to do, is to help the sellers, to help the buyers, and then create a win-win-win and make money in the process.
Okay, so you said win-win-win. How about giving an example of a win-win-win situation?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So an example of a win-win-win is, you know, you're winning as well as the seller, but then also on the back end, the buyer is winning as well. And you want to make sure that you can kind of create that. So what I mean by win-win-win is when you make an offer, present an offer to a seller, you want to make sure that that they're going to win. It's solving their problem, but it's adding value to them. So one of my recent deals, I had to renegotiate terms, and after I renegotiated terms, even though some things came up with the property and we weren't, it didn't quite work out the way that we initially thought it would, she was thanking me for taking over this property. And so, it was just a blessing for her. And so with that strategy, I'll be able to win as well. So I'll be able to make a little bit of money throughout the process of the deal. Depending on what we do with it, you can assign lease options. You can stay in it if there's some back end equity. So there's a lot of different exit strategies within that, and that's how it creates a win for me. And plus, I don't have to go to a bank and get traditional financing. Financing is already in place, and I can leverage their financing. And how it's a win for the seller is, they may not be, or excuse me, how it's a win for a buyer is they might not be in a position where they can qualify for additional financing. So what you can do is you can do the lease option, so they can pay you an option fee up front to have the right to purchase this property at a set price. And then they'll pay you, X amount of dollars for whatever the terms that you agree with. And so when they buy the property, you're paid what you agreed upon, and then it in turns it'll pay off the mortgage with your initial seller. So then now everybody's out of the deal and everybody wins at that point, because the ultimate goal of the initial seller was to sell that property and clear the debt.
Yeah.
So that's a win-win-win scenario.
Okay, great. So if I understand this correctly, you're going to the seller, you're actually leasing the property with an option to buy, and then you're doing, what would you call that, a sandwich lease to what will eventually be the buyer on the back end.
Correct.
Excellent.
And the reason why it's a sandwich lease is because you're in the middle.
Yeah, you're subleasing it to the next person. Okay.
Correct.
Awesome. And I could see how that would be super beneficial. So can you get into deals with the lease option that might be tough to get into otherwise with other strategies?
Yeah, you actually can. So you can actually pay higher for this property than you typically would if you were paying cash. My cash offer was below $45,000 on this property, and it just wasn't going to work. A cash offer wasn't going to work. So, what you're doing is you're saying, I want to buy this property and I can buy it at this price, but what I just need from you is a little bit of time. That's all you're asking. You're just asking for time. And so it allows you to get in deals that some people might think that it's a dead lead. It's a dead deal. Like, oh, I can't make money on this. Well, you can. You just have to think outside the box.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And just listen to what he said there. He's just being creative. Leads come in, they look like dead leads, and he's able to turn those into potential money-making machines. So he's able to turn that into cash flow over a period of time, and then eventually potentially have a back-end equity portion as well, or a big a back-end chunk of money as well, however you want to put that.
Exactly. There's some equity that's being created.
Excellent. So, Evan, tell me, what are some of your goals for the next few years, the next 5 years, we'll say?
The next 5 years, I would actually like to have my own retail space, and I would like to actually, be working on my business, not within. So right now, I'm in the growing phase. I'm still a technician, I'm still a manager, and I'm still working on my business. So the next 5 years, I'd like to have a retail space. I'd like to have 4 or 5 employees that are working with me, maybe a couple acquisition managers, people on the payroll, and the business can, generate its own business. I don't have to be working in the business for it to work. So that's one of my goals. Another goal is to create long-lasting relationships with partners. And I feel like that, if you're growing together, or you can add value to each other, then that'll be a successful relationship. I'd like to see, us complete 500, 600 transactions in 5 years. And through systematic work, that can be achieved, especially if you have people in place to do that.
Absolutely. I love that. Working on the business more so than in the business. The Michael Gerber Emeth rule.
Exactly.
That book is fantastic. If you haven't read it already, you need to check it out. And then, yeah, lasting relationships with partners. That's also so critical in this business. So how about you talk about how you build lasting relationships with partners? Because a lot of people I know don't understand that it's a team sport, and
Hmm.
even in the single family business, it's a team sport. You have your wholesalers, you have your property managers, you have your lawyers, you have all these team members, but people don't understand that it's actually a team thing. So dig
Yeah.
into that for me. How do you build lasting relationships?
That's something that I'm learning as well. But I will say, in my experience, is giving value. Finding the people that have the same mindset as you and they want to go the same place as you. That's pretty much key. So you want to be pretty particular in who you bring in onto a team, because you could bring in a team member that may not quit. May not quite have the same values or beliefs that you do. So that's very important. That's three things that are very important right off the bat.
Okay.
But one thing you can do, to ensure lasting relationships is just make sure that expectations up front, and you know what those expectations are going forward, and those things may evolve over time, and so you just want to reassess those and make sure that you're both creating value, or you're all creating value. um, you know there may be things that you may ask, like, so with like a real estate agent, so you want to make sure they know your model in your business, because they may have some situation with a seller that they can't help them out, but they know you can, and so
Yeah.
they'll reach out to you. Like, that's agents, that's brokers, and so vice versa. You may lean on them. You want to run your own comps and stuff like that, but you may want a second or third opinion, and you might ask them, okay, well, do you mind pulling comps? And so that's just kind of a relationship. And then you can pass referrals back and forth to each other. That's a good way to create lasting relationship. So there's a lot of different things that you can do, to create good, lasting relationships. And it just starts with a simple conversation, just figuring out what they're looking for and seeing if you can fill that void initially.
So give me a few examples of how you provide value, because that seemed to be the main emphasis, was providing value.
Okay. So providing value to me would be making sure that you can do what you say you do. And you may have some pitfalls there. There may be some things that you don't see, but you want to make sure what that value is to that other individual. So, like, I'm working with a partner now, and pretty much, their main thing he's saying that to provide value in his businesses is performance. You want to have that performance. If you can perform and do you while you're performing, that's providing value. In another one of my partnerships, a great way is contributing opportunities to that individual, where they may have some dead money sitting there, and you provide an opportunity, or you have a value add. Well, this money's not doing anything now, let's see what we could do with this money to get you going towards your goals. And so that's another way to add value, um, in my experience.
Absolutely. So your money's sitting at 1% in the bank account somewhere, and how can we make that work harder for you? Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
great. I love that. I love that. Um, so so tell me, I didn't have a question there, so I'm going to think of one.
Okay. Okay. You had one percolating.
It was right there, and then it flew off into the distance. I really like a lot of the things you said. I love these goals. And so how about for those who are still in a W-2 job
Mhm.
and they're sitting at their desk right now listening to this for some reason instead of getting their work done,
Okay.
what advice would you give to them to help them make the next step? the next step towards financial freedom?
You want to make sure you have a clear path, because you just don't want to go out there running around and trying to do deals if you don't know where you want to go. So you want to create a good goal. You want to create a good path and then work towards that. So if you want an easier transition out of your job, then it may be good for you to buy cash flowing properties. And if you have a good paying job right now, you can leverage traditional financing. And so you could do a couple different strategies like the BRRRR strategy, or if you have cash, you can, buy and then reuse that cash. So, those are a couple different ways, and that would be an easier transition. I honestly wouldn't recommend a lot of people to do what we did, because it it was kind of ballsy. I mean, and it was kind of aggressive. So, but I believed in myself that much that we could do it, and we wanted to do it. So that's one way. If you are in a position to where you're like, hey, I don't want passive income properties. I want to be more active. Then, I mean, you could look at doing fix and flips, and you having the income of your job. You're not solely dependent upon making money each week, each month, or anything like that. So those are a couple different good ways to get started. If you're looking for a retirement long-term plan, passive income, cash flowing properties. If you're looking for more active income, it may be best to do some fix and flips, but you want a good goal, you want a good path, and then also get training on those sections that you want to do. You want to make sure you're buying right.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you have the benefit of a mentor, or have you used a coach, or what type of education did you put yourself through?
So we started with a national company, and there's a lot of people that know of this company, and it's probably one of the bigger national companies out there. And so we joined them because we felt that at the time we felt that they were a good resource to get started. There was a bunch of entrepreneurs there, there was a bunch of investors there, and it was just a good network of people.
And
so we paid.
What company was that?
Those Fortune Builders.
Okay, all right. For those of you who wanted to get more information on that, but go on. Sorry.
So Fortune Builders, they got us started, and I learned a ton of information. And I mean, there's so much information coming at you, you can't really learn it all. But I would highly suggest going to the active boot camps, active learning, and you can network and train, and you can meet other people. Throughout that process, you can learn and grow with people and get like mentorship or get coaches. They offer coaching, and even locally, I would recommend going to a local McREA or something like that as well, because they may have coaches and mentors as well.
Now, I want to point out that he said McREA because we're in Madison County, but in your county, it might just be a REIA, which is Real Estate Investors Association. Yeah. And they're typically just about anywhere you are. You can Google search it, or ask your friends, go to the Chamber of Commerce and ask them. There's a lot of those resources out there. But yes, I agree with you. That's a great way to get connected with your local investors.
Correct. With
people that are shaking it right in your market. So
you want to learn from them as well as nationally as well.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Well, we're going to move on to the final five, which I just coined right now, and I added one because it was full. But here we go. So, question one: what is a song that motivates you?
I mean, I've got a playlist of motivational music that I listen to, but recently, there's a couple that pop up, and one of them is "No Fear" by Phil Addy, and the other one is "Every Day" by Logic. And so, I kind of listen to that type of music. It does inspire me. It does motivate me, because I can relate with that music.
And "No Fear" was by who again? I'm literally making a playlist, man.
Oh, is okay. His name is Phil Addy, Ade.
Ade. Awesome. Yep. Being from a music background, that's how I get pumped up. So it's a good question for me. So Evan, what is an example of when being relentless benefited your business?
there's a ton of examples, but the main one would be putting out offers and being laughed at. I put out, offers, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, are you serious on this offer? That's such a low offer, blah blah." And I'm like, "Well, you don't understand how an investor works. Let me educate you, or let me, I really am trying to help you out, but you know, I can only pay this for cash." And so that's kind of what led me to do the other creative stuff, because I wanted to help more people. But being relentless in the business is, putting out offers and, keep pushing those offers out, working with other agents and, having them submit the offers. Sometimes I don't understand why you're submitting that offer, and that's why it's important to have a good, agent on your team that understands why you're offering what you're offering.
Yeah, going back to the relationship building, that's why it's good to build those relationships. So when you put out the offers, they understand. Yeah, I love it. If you could only recommend one book to anyone for the rest of your life,
Man,
what book would it be?
I'm not trying to coin anything, that hasn't already been said, but Think and Grow Rich was really one that really, really resonated with me. And, I've read some other books as well, but I would recommend that book getting started. And then, if it is, particular, if you are more interested in investing, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by, Robert Kiyosaki. And so those are two really, really good books to get started. If you're interested in more business, then the Emeth, you had mentioned the Emeth, that's a good one. And there's actually one for real estate investing as well. But Think and Grow Rich would be the first one, because, it all starts in your head.
You get a high five. that would be my pick too. So how do you like to give back?
So I like to give back by, I want to give more time. So sometimes, money might be tight, or you might think it might be tight. So if you can give time, then that's a good way to give back. Give time in your community, give time to friends, give time to family and friends. If they need help or want something or need something, and you can help them, provide that time. One thing that I want to do is get more involved in the Boys and Girls Club and give my time to, young individuals, young minds, and, kind of plant seeds of entrepreneurship. Whether it's real estate investing or not, that's fine. But, planting seeds is probably, that's how you can give back,
I love it. I love it. I actually did a Facebook Live this morning and mentioned that, but I stole it from a John Maxwell book. So that's awesome. I love it. And then finally, Evan, how can listeners get in contact with you?
Okay. So, you can reach me out on Instagram. So that's Reviresco_profits. That's Instagram. And I can spell that for you. So that's REVIRESCO_profits. And that's the Instagram name. You can also reach me out on Facebook, Evan McCuen. Also Evan at RHEDKeyProperties.com. So EVAN at RHED KEY properties.com. That's my email address. And my cell phone, 256-665-4872. And also I have an office line you can reach me out at. It's 256-414-2333.
Excellent. Excellent. And then I guess, did you give your website as well?
Oh, no. So I did not give the website. So it's www.RHEDKeyProperties.com, and that's RHEDKEY properties.com. And the reason why we spell it RHED, RHED, is because it stands for Revitalizing Homes for Economic Development.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Awesome, man. Well, thank you. Thank you, Evan, for coming on the show. I feel like you brought a lot of value to our listeners. And reach out to Evan if you want to learn more about lease options, if you want to learn more about single-family investing, really if you want to learn more about business and the mindset behind being successful in this business. Because me and Evan are good friends, and I get the benefit of getting on calls with him every week. So you should probably try to tap into that. He already said he likes to give back by giving time. So with that being said, Evan, thank you so much. And We will talk soon.
Awesome. Hey, I really appreciate it.